Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lighted Building and to the Design Plasma on the Licht.de day. The second part of the day will be part of the industry initiative, which you'll find something on display on the stand opposite. We are going to talk about sustainability. You'll hear something about digital light planning processes, and also about standardization, and at the very end of the day, about emergency and safety lighting. I would like to introduce the first speaker in the afternoon, Heiko Becker. He is the Sustainability Manager of AERCO GmbH, member of ZVEI board. He's also a member of the European Umbrella Association. And I would like to give you the floor, or the stage rather. Thank you very much for the introduction and welcome on the presentation on sustainability in lighting. The question is there a need for an update? Well, I'd like to see whether this works. Well, Tony Willett has done this. I would like to pass on to this picture. So what are the current news? What is the current status of sustainability? We can hear all kinds of things. Everything is no longer as urgent. It may not be as important as before. We have an omnibus legislation which changes lots of different pieces of legislation at the same time. And also we want to deregulate. So we're getting fewer laws. That's what they believe. But we also have to find that looking at the UN goals, the whole framework has not changed at all. There is not one goal which has been reformulated. There is not one framework which has been touched. So anything we're discussing has the same long-term goal. We still, by 2050 at the latest, we want to be carbon neutral, still, as before. This also means that the EU wants to be carbon neutral by 2045, and this is still the same goal. It has not been touched. So what has changed? The 2040 goal has changed. Sorry, it hasn't. Sorry. This goal is the same. What has changed is the 5% to be calculated via certificates. So the limit value which we have to reach in 14 years from now is the same, but you want to have more credits factored in. So 5% of the 90% can be credited to us via certificates. So where does the light industry stand today? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about how much energy you need for light compared with 1990? This was the goal which was announced by Ursula von der Leyen in the Green Deal. Now, it's of course a very current topical issue. So the goal was 55% minus by 2030. So if you refurbish your lighting, then normally you are on the safe side. So just by switching to LEDs and modern optics and modern luminaires, you will normally reach 70% energy savings for luminaires. However, there is a different consideration, which says we have more luminaires. We have to ask ourselves whether all the luminaires are run under full steam at 100%. That's how the calculation is done. Because when we talk about light management, which is in everyone's interest at the moment, it means that not all the products can be run on full steam. And this has to be factored into the calculation. So there is a change which gives us more time, and we extend it, but just for the starting phase. This is interesting if you compare it to a race. Catching up in a race is difficult, but this is exactly what we have to allow for ourselves. We allow for a slightly slower starting phase, so we reduce the requirements for this year slightly, but at the end we are supposed to achieve the same objective. What does this mean? Well, we have these omnibus packages, as I mentioned before, but there's also a reduced importance or significance of the green claims legislation. Previously, there were various processes just saying that there should be a green claim, and if there is a green claim, you have to give facts for that, verifiable facts if you make a green claim, or facts which are based on recognized methods of technology. This has been reduced slightly, so you don't always have to give evidence for green claims, especially in this respect. Our job has been made easier, also for the reporting duties. The limits for reporting companies have shifted. The second wave for the sustainability reporting has been postponed by 2 years at least. And last week, the VSME standard in Germany has been established as a reporting standard. So from now on, you can report using the VSME standard, which is sort of a reduced standard, if you're not large enough to report under the full report duties. So this will also improve your situation. This reporting standard also is very similar from one country to the next. However, something which is still a burden for us is the Supply Chain Act, or the CSDDD in the English parlance, which means we have to look at the supply chain less strongly, but still as before. And that's something which has not changed at all, is materials and substances. We know this from the discussion about the PFAS group. So materials which shine should also become and also make moisture resistant. This must be banned. These must be banned because they are kind of PFAS. If we look at the legislation, that one of the biggest horizontal laws is the so-called ESRS, Eco Design for Sustainable Products, and the first version of that is the battery passport. So with a passport for batteries, which must contain certain ingredients, this is based on the Sustainable Products Regulation, which is in force. And luminaires and also light sources will also be covered by that. And we will replace what we call the single lighting regulation, so the eco-design regulation. So there will be a digital product passport. This means no more paper. So if you light a room, there may be 10 luminaires, and normally then you you get 10 times the same documentation on paper. This cannot be sustainable. But since the retail doesn't know who gets which carton, each carton has the same documentation. So if you buy 10 spotlights, of course, 10 cartons, 10 times paper documentation. So if you get this digitally, that would be a huge advantage. It also makes it more available, because sometimes you look in vain for documents because you've just lost them somewhere. And so if we assume that lamps will have a longer service life, then you have to find out where you get your spares, where you get your upgrade package or retrofit kit, and for that you need a digital documentation. And it would be nice if you put a QR code, for example, on the lamp or the luminaire, and then once we need it, all the documents are available. This is the so-called digital product passport. This could also include circular topics, such as if there was a decision that the luminaire goes into recycling, then the digital product passport could also list the substances which have been used for the luminaire, and this could, or the light source, and this could be a basis for recycling the lamp. Another subject which brings us to consumer products is what shall we do to products which have not been sold? So are you allowed to destroy products which haven't been sold? This is about shelf dwellers. It's about also returns. Not so stocks and returns from the market which come back to you because they haven't been sold, and these products must no longer be destroyed. That's the plan. So there is a work plan as to when this is going to be in force. This is so-called work plan ESPR, also includes the light sources and the control gears. This would also cover our luminaires, and this is planned not for 24, as originally planned with the signal lighting regulation, but for the year 2029. So a delay of 5 years, which is allowed by the legislator. Let's take a look at the goal again. By 2030, we want it to be down by 55%, and these are the laws which make that possible. They will be in force in 29. You really have to let that sink in. So the challenges are quite clear and obvious. So this means, well, ESPR is the new thing, and the digital product passport is the good thing. And what will be the contents of the digital product passport? So we have thought for ourselves, what are the parameters which we'd like to put into the digital passport? On the right-hand side, you see a number of things which should be in, such as energy efficiency, but also recycling, but also instruction manuals, assembly manuals, safety instructions. We're talking about this really at the moment, whether a product who buys a product which can be digitalized, can be controlled digitally, does he or she have to get the safety, the warnings on paper? How do you select products today? Do you go on the web? If you go on the web, then you have a digital device. So wouldn't that then be logical that you get these safety instructions via the QR code in electronic ways? That is an interesting question. It means there are consumerizations that's not possible. You have to keep the paper because there are a certain number of users or consumers who buy these products and they don't have access to digital and terminal devices. They don't have iPads or iPhones or something. This would be a limitation, of course. But connected devices, connected lighting needs these devices. So obviously, there is a logical problem there. So for who are the safety warnings for? Of course, for the person who commissions the device. So this makes us full circle. You need such a device, and that's why we can also give safety instructions digitally. That's an interesting question. That's the sort of considerations which we're discussing in the bodies. There is relevant bodies. And the answer seems to be obvious, but if you talk to lobby groups, then this is not the case. By far. This means there is another aspect to it. Legislation says for products which are concluded in EPREL, the digital product passport is not obligatory. This means that lamps or light sources which are included in EPREL, don't get a digital passport, but the luminaires would need a digital passport, which is an interesting twist. Briefly, I would like to point out, we're talking about sustainability. There is a sword of Damocles hanging above all of us, which is the so-called DPWR. It is the packaging waste regulation. So it is the packaging around the product and also the packaging over packaging. Just think about a pallet. The pallet has been shrink wrapped, for example. That's packaging and packaging waste. So what happens to packaging waste? There is a new regulation which is going to come into force in August this year. I have a different presentation about, I heard about this from a different presentation by ZVEI, and they say, they assume that every manufacturer will be hit by this, by the packaging directive. This means that every manufacturer will be concerned, and that's why I would like to direct your attention to it. Just take a look whether you are concerned, whether you're affected. There are different orders of magnitudes. Sometimes you only have to do a checkup and check because you're doing everything right, doing the right thing today. But there will also be possibilities that you have to have different documentations. We also assume there is a labeling for packaging. It's going to be a label for packaging, if not Europe-wide, then in individual member states, so that you have to keep a statistic of what kind of packaging you are using and marketing. What was surprising was a different subject. It is the so-called guarantee label or warranty label. It seems to be that we are suggesting that we have huge areas on our cartons, and that's why it allows us to put another labels on it. This doesn't replace another label. It is an additional label. It's a warranty label. And the idea is that the customer is informed about an additional voluntary warranty. So whenever you go beyond your statutory warranty period, you are asked to use this label to explain to customers the exact time of warranty they have, so that they can take a conscious decision when they make a buying decision. So we also think that the regulator, i.e. the EU, assumes that we select very consciously. Shoppers select not just via price or availability, they also take into consideration the sustainability, and there the service life, the warranty, the packaging, and so on are also relevant aspects in our buying decision. So the market will change, and there will be a trend towards this direction of warranty labels. This label will come into force on the 27th of September, and it can be used. It is, of course, good for consumers at the point of sale. I know this is quite a lot. It has been a brief glimpse into what's in store for us. When it comes to sustainability, there are lots and lots of aspects. Just the product passport, for this to happen, a lot of hurdles have to be crossed. I haven't talked about the technical realization of this. Just to say, the product passport must be must be saved by the companies, registered, and there must be a backup. All this will be communicated, so our initiative, Licht.de, will give you constant information about that. As soon as there is a final decision about this, you will find the right publications about it. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Becker, for this enlightenment. Are there any questions to the speakers? Otherwise, our speakers are all available after their presentations at the stand. So come up to us, to our stand, and you can ask your questions directly. Thank you, Heiko. Lots of information. If you want to be the first to get this information, you come to our stand, and you will tell you how you can be informed constantly.